I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm going to talk about Jimmy Kimmel today. I know no one watches his shows, so why are you paying attention? Why does anybody care? This is my whole reason why I'm making this thing. I don't know why it's in the news. They've been looking for reasons to get rid of a lot of these shows because people don't want to watch them anymore. They're not entertaining. They're just completely shilling for one side. And the American public has shifted. If you've seen the election and if you've seen the way that the country voted, it just is not resonating with a lot of people because they've gone so far to one side. It's not even funny. I come from the age of when it didn't matter who the sitting president was, you made fun of that person. Well, for the past 4 years before Trump got in with Biden, there was no making fun. It was completely one-sided. And so to now sit here and listen to people who are very educated, very smart, tell me that someone getting that ABC and Disney firing their own person in Jimmy Kimmel, that is this government's administration's fault and that they're going out of their way to cancel people like that, even if they were, which I don't believe is the case, and even if they were, what do you have to say for Facebook censorship with all of the things that we know? Zuckerberg came out and did that. Yeah, we were working with the government. All of the bias on these news platforms, all of the bias that is everywhere that leans only one direction. Oh, there's no canceling of conservative voices. These are the people that have been, literally their livelihoods have been taken away from them for expressing their opinions on free speech. That's why more of the conservative side have been so adamant about free speech, is because they've been on the brunt end of it. And I know what you're saying. Well, they only care about it when it agrees with them. No, Charlie Kirk is the biggest example of that. They made fun of him. They did this, they did that. And he's always been there on these college campuses saying, which from what I've been watching now, because I started to pay attention to his videos now, he's the one saying, let's have conversations. Let's let people talk. The reason why free speech is so important is because we can then get your ideas out there. This person's ideas out there and this person's ideas out there. The people who start to gravitate towards better ideas because they rise up is what we want. We want everyone's stupid ideas out there with the good ideas so that we can see in comparison. And that's what a big problem was on these college campuses, was people started watching these videos going, oh, that person is so stupid, but yet I agree with what they're saying. And this guy's making them look like an idiot because they can't defend their own arguments. And so it falls flat very, very quickly. So that's why free speech is huge. Now, if you're going to sit there and say that Trump and this administration is trying to say, like I said, even if he was, what do you have to say for all of the cancellations and the silencing and the shadow banning and all of the things that we know are happening to conservative voices on every big digital platform, TV station, all of Hollywood? All of these people can't even express themselves because of fear of getting canceled. And now Jimmy Kimmel, who is either a complete shill for corporations and for the left-leaning government, or he's an idiot, you're upset about him canceling when, again, their own network canceled them. Probably because the little fan base that he has left even disagreed with what he was saying. And that resonates through. People don't just get canceled because they're doing great. People get canceled when things aren't well. The only time that people do get canceled when things are going well, guess what? They happen to not go along with the consensus at the time that is shared by, I hate to say it, the Democratic, the liberal, the left-leaning media. So that's how things go down, but yet we're sitting here and we're trying to blame stuff on this administration, which, hey, it could be the case. It could be that they're in the ear of the FCC and they're in the ear of ABC and Disney. But like I said, where has this been? If this is the case and this is what's happening, where has this been? Where was it during the 4 years that Trump was around the first time? So during that time, so many people were still ex-nayed around all of the platforms. All right, there were so many people that got canceled, so many people for, again, disagreeing with the common narratives at the time. Where was the government overreach then? Where was so I don't understand the inconsistency in these arguments, especially when it comes to someone as terrible as Jimmy Kimmel. Now, I'm not talking about him as a person. I'm talking about him in regard to what he portrays himself out to be in the public eye. He's not funny anymore, all right? I remember when he first started, great shows. Like I said, when things used to be, you could talk about everything and everything was fair game. That's when comedy was great. That's when these shows were fun, and that's when it was lighthearted, and that's when it wasn't so serious. Now, if he doesn't make a statement about what's going on in the government every 5-10 minutes, it's like it's not his show anymore. So why do I want to watch that when I come there for him to interview actors and actresses when it's all politically charged? You can't be on the show unless if you are aligned with those. So when you're talking about people getting canceled, there's not even a way for people to get in the room anymore. That's how much cancel culture has taken over. So when you look back and you go, oh, well, like I said, even if Trump found a way to get Jimmy canceled, even if that was the case, look at the landscape that has been created. There's only one thing, the one side that you have to agree with to get on those shows. So I know that maybe there's not as much cancellation going on today, but that was because of the framework that was laid for years. If you said this, you weren't going to get on. If you did this, you were going to get ex-nayed from Hollywood. You weren't going to be in that crowd because you had these views. Now, the people themselves have changed. That's why these things aren't as popular. That's why they don't resonate. And then when this person gets canceled because of a stupid thing that he said, like I said, he's either stupid or he's a shill. He says something stupid on his show, which might not have been him. Like I said, I don't know Jimmy. It might have been one of the writers. It might have been someone from the team. I don't know. But when that happens and his own people fire them, you're going to blame that on Trump and talk about how people are inconsistent with their views on free speech? Get out of here. It's so crazy that we can do this. It's like it never stops. The energy behind this stuff never stops. Just open your eyes and take a look around. People have no memory to what things were like 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago at all. It's exhausting to hear people who are in positions of power, who have an audience, and they can't seem to grasp the most simple concepts. It's right there in front of you. These people have come out. Zuckerberg came out on Joe Rogan's podcast and said, yes, we were working with the government to silence people. Like, what do you mean? It wasn't silencing the conservative voices who were questioning things, they were expressing their free speech. It was shutting that down. I know you might say, well, look at Hollywood, look at Disney. You can't express yourself. Gina Carano, you can't express yourself and be who you want to be. So you don't even have a chance to make it unless if you align with certain politics. That's insane. That's worse than canceling someone. You can't even, there's so many people out there that I guarantee you feel a certain way and don't say anything because they don't want to get their Hollywood card, all right, their SAG card, whatever it is, taken away from them because they get ostracized from the group. That's sad that they don't get to express themselves. Now, I'm going to make another video about why if I were an actor, all right, I wouldn't have any social media. I wouldn't express my opinion on anything, right? Because that's going to take away from your bottom line. So I think that some of the smart ones know that regardless, but look at the mass majority. The mass majority come out there in support of one side. And again, we're sitting here talking about one person who's not popular anymore, who's not funny anymore, who only aligns with one side. They already got rid of Colbert, not funny anymore, it's not resonating with people. They're getting rid of this guy, and then they're going to blame this stuff on Trump. Like I said, even if that were the case, even if that was 100% true, I'm going to sit here and throw it back to you. Well, what has happened the past how many years? And then think about when Trump was first in. You don't think that he didn't like people not talking shit about, that's all they did was talk shit about him. Where were all the cancellations then? They boomed during that time. They loved having that because they could make fun of him. They lost a lot of popularity. Jimmy Kimmel and the like lost a lot of popularity because they didn't do the same thing when Biden was in the administration. And so that shows you that they're completely biased. And that is where I have no sympathy for these things. And I look at them and I just go, I can't believe that people are actually upset about that when they've been doing that. They've wrote the playbook on it, so much so that you can't even get in the room unless if you agree with their ideology. So it's sad to see that, again, like I said, very smart people are doing this. They're losing fans left and right. I was wondering why certain people were so unbearable. And they had nothing to do with politics. It's like, what's wrong with this person? Oh, and then they this stuff starts to come out and they start to express their opinion. You're like, oh, you've been irritable because you find all this stuff going on wrong. And I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand why people are shooting themselves in the foot. But I guess that this is a good thing, right? Because we don't need this nonsense anymore. And free speech should be out there. And I hope Trump doesn't start influencing things like the FCC. I want, just like Charlie Kirk was talking about, you want all the ideas out there to see. Like, you want people like Jimmy Kimmel. You don't want him to have the most popular show. Like I said, he didn't have the most popular show. But you want those ideas out there so that people can see, oh yeah, these people are so biased. They're just following along with ideology. They're not thinking for themselves. They're not questioning anything. And that, I think, is one of the reasons why they let go, or they are at least taking a pause, because it just doesn't make sense in regard to viewership and the things these days. You want to find things that resonate. But here's the big, if you are Jimmy Kimmel fans and you're watching this, here's the big takeaway. He's going to be all right. He's made a ton of money. He could retire right now and be just fine. So as smart and as talented as his potential is, if he wants to do something else, he could. But I think a lot of his ideology and that complete only focus on one thing mentality, where he's just so going hard in the paint off of Trump and going so hard for the left-leaning, liberal ideology, that's not going to be a recipe for success. If he wants to switch teams, all right, like I've seen so many people do, all right, they're smart. They go, hey, I'm going to switch teams. What's hot right now? But you have to understand the people, all right, are getting sick of this, especially the people in the middle. And so whatever he decides to do, whether he decides to retire or do his own thing, all right, he's going to be fine, all right? And like I said, I don't think that any of this stuff is hypocritical, unless if it is government overreach, then hey, you got me on that. But even if it is, it's not that crazy, because look at what we've created. The whole Hollywood, news media, social media is completely overrun by only one ideology. And if you say certain things, you're not allowed in the club. That's starting to go away, hopefully, but that didn't need Trump's intervention. Trump got elected because that was not resonating with the public. So how do you go about reconciling those two things? That's all I have to say on that, and that's it. Jimmy Kimmel, he's going to be just fine.